Kick it off.
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, welcome to the February 26, 2026 Planning Board meeting. Let's start with a vote to open the meeting with roll call by name, and I'll take a motion to take the vote.
So moved.
Made by Bill, seconded by Steve. Okay, start with Marty.
Marty, aye.
Bill, aye.
Bill, aye.
Steve, I.
Steve, aye. Great. Okay, why don't we start with the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I think we're gonna start a little out of order here. We're gonna start with the continued public hearing for 190, 194, 198 Hartford Avenue, along with 182 and 186 Hartford Avenue. Rob, do we have an update on that?
Yeah, so we got the traffic peer review back. There's, I think, going to need to be some refinement on the applicant side and sending some more information. So rather than having a lengthy conversation without having actual materials in front of the board, after discussing with the applicant, it just made sense to continue that discussion. And you'll have some additional information for the next meeting. So, they're looking to continue to March 12th, and we have the deadline decision was extended to April 30th. So,
With that being said, has both public safety, police and fire been involved with the
Oh, yes.
discussions? Because I know that was a huge, the last meeting, truck turns and everything else, and so.
yeah, that's all been part of the conversation,
Because I
so.
know that it has to go over to the select board too about
Yep.
traffic flow and everything else. Okay.
Yep.
So just
Absolutely.
making sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's.
Sure.
Okay, so
I think Bill might have a question.
why don't we
I
have a
want to make sure
motion?
we don't discuss too
Why don't
much.
we have a motion first, and then
Gives
we
them-
could go from there. Can I have a motion to continue to
Motion to
March
continue.
12th? And with a deadline of the 30th of April? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to continue public hearing on 190, 194, and 198, along with 182 and 186 Hartford Ave, to continue to the
March
March
12th.
March 12th meeting.
Okay. Motion's been made. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
Made by Marty, seconded by Steve. Start the vote with Marty.
Marty, aye.
Phil, aye.
Bill, aye.
Steve, I.
Okay, so that motion passes 4-0. You get that in writing, Rob? You know?
Yep, got him.
All right, so let's go back to the normal agenda item here. And I see the applicants here, if they'd like to join us.
Yep,
We're
Blackstone Street. Yep.
going to continue public hearing for Blackstone Street. And I don't think we need a vote to just start the discussion again.
No, the meeting was continued, so just gonna open it.
Hi, what would you like to present to us tonight?
Essentially, last time we were here, we submitted revised information with subsequent peer review that was completed recently. I don't know if the board has the board received the peer review? So essentially, in my opinion, the peer review is fairly complete in terms of there are minor technical items that the engineers can work out regarding calculations and how they were calculated in ratios and that kind of thing. But particularly tonight, they made several references to deferring to the board relative to the subdivision control law and its application to this roadway improvement project. And so I just wanted to make sure we cleared the air here that this is not a subdivision and it's not subject to your subdivision rules and regulations. And things of locating trees 12 inches in diameter and sidewalks, all these other things that are in your subdivision regulations don't pertain to this particular project, so I don't want to proceed down the road and then have this come up at the last minute.
So I did see that, in the peer review it was referenced. I believe heard before that that's your position.
Yeah, well, when you have, I don't know if you have a legal opinion or not, but the Beals and Thomas is not attorneys. And they review the plans and then particularly say it's their opinion. That's their opinion. They're not, as I would say, legal experts on the matter. So I would venture to guess that I'm a little bit more familiar with the legal aspects of it than they would be. I haven't done this many times. So, that's, if you do have other issues that you think that are gonna be thrown into the equation, other than what's in the Beals and Thomas peer review, then we should get them on the table right now, because in my view, as far as the stormwater management permit goes, it looks to me that the stormwater management system has been designed according to your regulations. And no further, I mean, other than, like I said, a few minor calculations, they were like questioning they weren't clear on how the drainage calculations were made, or the flow or that kind of thing. But I think from that standpoint, those are just minor tweaks in the stormwater report. Other than that, there's, so from stormwater management regulation, stormwater management permit, I would say that we've done our job relative to the what the board's requirements are. But again, they've made mentions in here about certain things that they're deferring to the planning board on. And if there are other matters that the board seems to think or is of the opinion that belong as part of this review process, then we should identify those things now.
Okay, well, I understand that you have a position, and I think our peer review probably has a separate position.
Yeah, well, again,
but it's spelled out, so.
Yeah, may I,
Rob, go ahead.
if it's all right, so I agree with Lou on, I think it's number 3 under that, the town of Bellingham procedural rules regarding, the larger trees, which, you know, I think the procedural rules default to the subdivision regs. However, I know the location of those trees has come up on numerous applications, which I don't know if it would necessarily be tripped for something like this. However, I do know in Allen Engineering's response, the last sentence, let me just read it. However, it should be noted that mature woodland exists on both sides of the roadway, and existing trees greater than 4 inches, as well as understory vegetation, will remain within the majority of the lot frontages. So that last section kind of covers the needs of retaining vegetation. It's similar to what you would see for like our scenic road bylaw, essentially. And
Yeah, again, well, those things are on private, they're outside of the right of way. They're
no,
on private lots.
I agree.
Okay.
The roadway
Yeah,
is
see.
private lots within an easement, so like it gets pushed further south.
Hmm.
So I think to this point, you know, it might be helpful maybe if you could just craft some type of language for a potential condition, just stating that, you know, limits within the frontage, whatever, you know, mature trees to remain or something. I don't know, something you might want to craft. So,
If the board has something that they can give me specific what they're looking for, then we can probably do something like that.
okay.
But
That's-
again, it's
I mean, you and I can discuss that if that's okay with the board, but,
Yeah.
yeah. The one item though that I would like to bring up, it's related, it's item number 1 under general engineering. That's related to the,
What page?
It's page 13.
Sorry, I want to make sure I'm reading.
No, it's a hefty document, so. On page 13, item 1, it's related to that, the maximum grade with the roadway, which I know you're proposing the 10% where the hump is, and I know our subdivision regs require 8% maximum, and I know you made the argument that this is not a definitive subdivision. It's tricky because with any roadway, the definitive subdivision is really the law of the land for our guidelines. But the biggest concern is, I know the fire chief has noted the 10% is an issue with the current fire apparatus.
Right, but it complies with the fire code, I mean, 527 CMR, it complies with that.
I
They
said,
have a maximum grade of 10% and we comply with that.
or defer to the fire chief, so.
No, you know,
Well,
Who's-
don't dismiss it that quickly.
well, he's the one that came up with the no cul-de-sac theory too, and that went away pretty quickly too, so.
I mean, what,
Anyway, so that is a comment. You've
Right.
asked to bring up comments that, we would
I
like.
think, I
addressed.
think his concern at the time was to make sure that at the bottom of the slope that there's trucks, because of the length, that will bottom out.
Correct.
And I think that's primarily why the grade issue comes into play. We had it on Prospect Hill, we have to have a certain transition between the slopes. So I think unless I haven't missed something, I think the road does comply with that portion of it. But I'll double check that.
Yeah, I would double check it, because the other thing too that was mentioned.
becomes a public safety issue with the fire trucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
There, so
Yeah, that's a critical
But
item.
just keep in mind that, this road has been there for 100 years or more. To knock the grade down 2%, you're talking about a significant amount of innovation that, quite frankly, is not necessary, so. So if you're looking to disturb more land, you can maybe insist on that, but I don't think that it achieves anything, and it's only for a short distance, right? If I remember correctly.
And I'm gonna go back to the first meeting when this was proposed. You were gonna go all the way through Blackstone, you were gonna build through through Ray, and this was gonna be a public
I
roadway.
still can do that, but I'm not doing it under this project. I mean, I still have the ability to do that. But as an accommodation to both towns and the neighborhoods on each end, I'm not proposing that. It's gonna be,
But the road you're proposing isn't gonna meet
I'm
the
not,
subdivision.
The
So,
road-
but you publicly, and it's in the minutes, and you said here to everybody,
yeah,
the
what did I say?
the two roadways that you have marked off on your plan.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna way develop up there, way develop down here. Now you're asking for a private road.
Whoa, back up. So it is a private road. It's been a private
Okay.
road. It's been there for
Not the first time it wasn't. The first one you presented, it was a public road.
in 2000, it was a public way up until 2000. Now it's a private way. The private way is owned by the people who have a butt on each side of the roadway, which happens to be me for most of the way. The town doesn't have any rights in the roadway. So we own the 100% fee of the roadway. Now, and nobody's said to me, oh, well, we'll accept this as a public way if you build it this way. Nobody said that. And I'm not proposing that we do that. So as long as it remains.
You wanted
I do, but people have said, and the board has intimated on several occasions that this is a private way and there's no guarantees that it will be accepted as a public way in the future. So if we proceed along those lines, then this is a private way. If sometime down the road where, there's a bigger development and the town thinks, or that everyone thinks that it should be a public way, and we come back and you say, oh, well, Jesus, we told you should have designed this to 8% and you didn't. We're not gonna accept your roadway, then that's a decision that gets made down the road. But for the time being, the project that's on the table is what is on the plan. That grade maintains the existing grade of what is there and has been there, whether it was a public way from 200 years prior or private way today. That's what's there. And, to change that because 2%. I'd say that. I don't think that's a public safety issue. It's a public safety issue. In fact, if you look at the statewide fire regulations, it's 10%. 10% is the grade.
Okay, so it seems like we're in a different position. We're going with our peer review. I know you've got
Well,
your
your peer review doesn't say that. The peer review
says,
they make mention that the subdivision rules and regulations specify 8%. We note this for the benefit of the board and understand the applicant is not filing a definitive subdivision plan. Bingo. We're not filing the definitive subdivision plans.
I have a different opinion.
go ahead.
I'd like to go back to the B and T response. As such, it is our opinion that a waiver be requested for the requirement as local roadway geometry is dictated by subdivision regulations.
Okay, well, we'll request a waiver then.
And then I also agree with what the chief
Okay.
indicated.
So I
That's
just,
just one person's.
no, I agree. So I just heard you as for a waiver.
Well, if that's what you require, I will request a waiver as for the benefit of the dialogue here. And if, when I hear you correctly, if you're gonna defer to the chief, with the chief, then you're gonna deny the waiver. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna, I can go there now and build the road. We're going through this because it was our intention sometime down the road that we'll build this according to the town specifications in the event that we want to dedicate this roadway in the future back to a public way. That's the reason why we're designing this project to comply with your subdivision construction standards as in your subdivision regulations. I don't want to battle. I don't want
Okay,
to fight.
and as you know, this board doesn't have the ability to make it a public street.
No, I understand. I understand.
So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
going there, but
So
There's one other
Go ahead,
thing
Mike.
just related, and I may have missed it because it might have been sent straight to the police, fire chief, but we discussed too, the truck turn.
that I have not provided. You mean in terms of the cul-de-sacs?
Correct.
I'll get you that. I call it, that.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't intending on closing the hearing tonight, but I do want to get whatever the remaining issues are on the table so that I don't come back in 2 weeks and find out that you folks have a different idea of where we're going. So,
well, Rob, my understanding is the plans that were provided would trip a subdivision review, correct? Is that
Well,
The original were.
the ones that we've got in our hands now?
not exactly,
Not
though.
exactly. That's a legal question.
Yeah, what I would recommend if you want it in writing, because this is a very complicated scenario. Just if you want to just request legal opinion on the matter, or the subdivision control laws in relation to what's being proposed.
Okay,
In particular, I would probably just get on the record, and Lou, if you want to provide something as well, because I know that you've spoken to it a little bit briefly at one of the meetings, probably 2 or 3 meetings ago, is providing the easements and the roadway within the easement and not within the abandoned limit of the right of way. So, I think really just getting that on the record would probably be ideal, and I think it would probably be helpful if you submitted any information related to
are
that.
you simply talking about the area where we're just a little bit outside the right of way in terms of the?
It's pretty significantly outside of it. When you go from Blackstone Street, the beginning of it, you're shifting. I think it's because of the wetland impact.
We did make an accommodation to move the roadway slightly off center. And that will be slightly outside the right of way, but that becomes, as you say, an easy.
Yeah. And
But
Allen Engineering, they did provide a pretty good plan showing the limits of the easements, because there's a
Yeah.
few, you've got to.
we added those sheets to the plan.
Correct. So but I will say that one of them, like where the wetland crossing is, it is, in my opinion, it's fairly significantly outside the limits, and it goes a pretty long distance. So I would just recommend, getting that
Legal opinion on
But,
that.
yeah,
All right, so are you requesting any other waivers?
I wasn't under the impression that any other waivers were required, but if you're saying
Well,
tonight.
I think they used waivers a couple times in here.
there were,
Planning board, or
I think you should get an opinion from town council, because I think town council may have a different view of what this application is
okay,
relative to the subdivision control law. This is an existing predating roadway, predates the subdivision control law. We have certain exemptions as a result of that. The subdivision control law does not apply. Now-
but is there a suitable grade for this going forward? I mean, I think that's
Well,
part of.
again, it depends on what the future is relative to the rest of the property that we have there and how it gets developed. If at some point, the town, like I said earlier, this project could be substantial, and it could end up, be in the best interest of the town to have it a public way, and at that time, whoever is in charge at that point, you petition the town meeting decides whether or not it should be a public way or not. But at that point, you have folks have an open town meeting here in Bellingham. Okay, so let's say we have 100 lots in that development, maybe more. And they want a public way. Well, all those people are gonna come to the town meeting and they're gonna approve a public way. So let's call it the way it is. I mean, it's, at that point, the people who are there and the residents that are there, they're gonna make a decision on behalf of the town, whether they should have a public way there or not, based on their belief. They pay taxes, they have houses, they're gonna be paying substantial taxes. If they want a public way, it'll go to town meeting, and town meeting will, that's the way.
I understand you have your position.
Yeah.
I would say that I've been to several town meetings where that it didn't happen.
Okay, well, again, it's town meeting, that's nothing to do with me, nothing to do with me.
Bill,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I'm a little confused. On one hand, you say it'll be a small development. And then you just said, on the other hand, well, down the road, it could be 100 lots. Correct?
Could be.
Our job here as elected officials is to look out for the best interest and represent the town. And I agree with Ron that we may want to get a legal opinion, so that if things go a different direction down the road, we have a legal opinion that we can present. Within a half hour, you say you want something small, and then maybe 100 lots.
No, I
Then you
never
just
said
said, then you just said 200 lots and 200 homeowners to go to a town meeting.
Well, listen.
You just stated that, Lou. Please,
May,
I know, but
the application in front is for the roadway and the 12 A and R lots.
Okay,
If Lou wants to submit an application for 100 lots in the future, so be it. But it's gonna be through this process again, and then you can contemplate it. I don't know.
But was not the original intent, this was going to be a public way?
It's not what's in front of us now, though.
Okay, that's what I'm
And
wanting
it would be conditioned that way later.
Sure, no, absolutely, and the only thing I can say is that if you feel that this is it should be, the applicable rules and regulations of your subdivision apply, then you should tell me what specifically should be applied and how for a roadway that predates the subdivision control law. It's in the, I'm not making this up, I mean, it's in the statute. You have a certain,
Yeah, I think our
Procedure.
peer review's gone through a bunch of different bullet points in there.
well,
And you mentioned the engineering points, one of the favorite topics from the past was the Rawls rate. So
the what?
Rawls rate,
Oh.
our engineer has brought that up a couple times. through the years.
That stuff I have no idea about, I know.
So anyway, as you stated earlier, there's a couple engineering things in here
Absolutely.
that need to be carried out, and I think that sounds like we're gonna get some sort of a legal opinion.
Yep.
And about what's there. And it sounds like you'd like a chance to update some things here based
Yeah.
upon the engineering conversations that are here.
Right, we have one more review that's going on with the Conservation Commission, and I think they wanna wait to see whatever comments there. We were supposed to meet last night, but the peer review, same people, didn't complete their review because of the storm. So anyways, I was gonna ask them, for a continuance till, what's the 15th, what is it?
I think it's March 12th. Yeah.
And hopefully you folks would have a legal opinion of sorts. If there are things that require a waiver, because obviously, we have a certain width of a right of way, there's certain things that we can't provide. So if you're gonna apply the rules and regulations to a certain extent, the things that we can accommodate, we will try, and the things that we can't accommodate, then those are waived.
Okay, well, I think that's pretty much pulled out in the peer review, so if there's a formal list of waivers that you'd like to submit, we'd like to see it, and it's based upon the peer review.
Yeah, I think, the legal opinion can.
Legal opinion probably first.
I would, for me, I would withhold any comment until we get a legal opinion, because a legal opinion will dictate what comments we have, if any. So anything we say now, may be completely contradicted by legal opinions.
Now, and from a timing perspective, we can get legal opinion. Obviously, there's some items that need to be addressed. There's the truck turn analysis. And those edits will most likely be done concurrent with whatever the peer review comes back with for the wetland side of things for.
Well, I quite frankly, I'm not expecting much different than what's in here. I mean, this is a pretty complete. I mean, most of the boxes are all checked off here. It's certainly things I don't expect anything different from conservation standpoint. So
Yeah, and I don't know that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just from a timing perspective, is it your hope to just continue this to March 12th?
yeah, March 12th, and then we'll decide whether or not you need more time.
Okay.
When's the decision date? March 31st, right?
Yeah, it's the end
Yeah,
of
so
March.
we'll decide on the 12th, whether or not, depending on what you get for a legal opinion. I can go through the regulations and pick out the things that I think would be waiver requests. You have sidewalks, you have street trees, you have curbing, you have all kinds of things that are typical within your subdivisions that would not necessarily apply here. So, I can do that and have that for discussion purposes at your next meeting. And,
So I would get legal opinion and maybe be ready to have that conversation.
In 9 business days, are we gonna have a true legal opinion?
Yeah, they're pretty quick. They're not like.
I'm just asking
Yeah.
because there's a lot that's in question here.
and let me just say that I've had Copeland and Page rule on this thing before, so I kind of have an idea of where they're going. So, they're in every town that I'm in, so it's not like we don't know each other.
So we've decided the date, but I would open it up to the public if there's any questions, comments, or concerns that anybody has.
Okay, why don't we do that? Sir, if you can stand up and mention your name and.
Dan Houston, 319 Blackstone Street.
Thanks for coming.
So just a quick question. So right now I know what the applicant is proposing is just the 12 lots. Doesn't want to go by subdivision regulations. He gets the 12. Down the line now he's proposing 100, 200 more houses. What happens to the 10% grade? What happens not having sidewalks? And what happens having a road that's only 20 feet wide at that point? Because now we're stuck with that. And I can tell you right now, with the few houses that are there, the 20-foot road is not adequate. So do they go back and have to make all the changes to make it a subdivision? Or does that not happen? And this week's storm is a perfect example of all the emergency vehicles that have been stuck and stranded. It happens, and it happens in Bellingham. Those are safety is my biggest concern with this project.
And if we go back and they're not gonna change anything to put 200 more houses in, that's not gonna be a good thing.
Thank you for your concerns. Any other, concerns from the audience? Okay,
So with that, I will discuss with town council to get a legal opinion on the matter, which I think we can even flush out some of the comments that you just made too at the next meeting. So with that, if we can continue this to March 12th, 2026, and we can go from there.
okay.
Okay?
And we do have the decision deadline at the end of the month,
Yeah,
in March.
We wanna
Would that be
push
enough time,
decision.
would that be enough time to turn around a decision at that point?
yeah, you have another meeting in March, so,
We need to extend it, then we can extend.
well, it's up to the applicant to
Excuse me.
extend it, so I think you're
All
okay
right.
with continuing to March 12th.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing of Blackstone Street Development to March 12th.
Okay, do I have a second? Second by Bill. Steve, vote. Bill. Bill, aye. Bill, aye.
Marty, aye.
Okay, that, goes forward. Yep, so we'll, see you on the 12th.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, I'll see you guys.
Thanks, Lou.
All right, so next item on the agenda is 455 Hartford Avenue. And I see the applicant's representatives here, so come on right. And you could, state your name and, for the record and the floor. Love to hear what you'd like to present tonight.
Good evening, members of the board. Dan American with Legacy Engineering. Gonna share my screen. You.
Oh, sorry.
There's been sidetracked.
Well, no, that got a little heated out there.
Yep. Never a dull moment.
Nope. You're co-host, so you should be able to screen share now.
We do have a peer review back too as well, correct?
Yeah, so you have the peer review letter, which came back clean. Dan can go over the edits, but essentially, I think I gave just a very brief update at the last meeting because the applicant did request a continuance because there were some new materials, very, very minor changes that were made to address some of the Conservation Commission stuff, but
Have those changes been incorporated at this point? We're gonna see today. I'm saying yes.
Yep, so we went through and we submitted a plan revision, actually two revisions, but addressing the peer review comments, there were not very many substantive changes. One of the most significant updates that we made was based on conversations with the fire chief. We added notation on the plan that the building will have a sprinkler. We added a fire hydrant on site, because you have to have a fire hydrant within 100 feet of the fire department connection. And we added a note at the request of the chief that there be no mulch within 3 feet of the building foundation. So combustion concern. So we made those updates. The other updates were pretty minor. We widened the dumpster enclosure to 24 feet so that you could have more than one dumpster. We added a tight tank behind the building for the floor drains in the building. The site is not on sewer, so you have to have a separate tight tank for the floor drains. We added the associated detail. We added the photometrics analysis, the foot candle analysis here, and it is basically no light spillage offsite around the site. We have a lot of green space around the developed areas, so there's no spillage of any kind offsite. The change that we made for the Conservation Commission was to just change the shape of this stormwater basin a little bit so that none of the grading activities occurred within the 50-foot wetland buffer, and to construct a very short retaining wall here behind the paved area again, so there's no grading within the 50-foot buffer. And that's about it, unless you have any specific questions for me.
Yeah, are you through conservation at this point?
We're not done, but I'm comfortable with moving forward here with you if you are ready.
Okay, there's a bunch of comments in the peer review.
which were all addressed.
Which
That's-
were addressed.
yeah,
Looks like
that's-
there'd be some waivers as well.
Yeah, I have
Yeah, there was-
the three waivers, which what I can do, obviously don't close the hearing, we can have the discussion, but as I mentioned the last meeting, I was gonna draft a decision for this because I find that when we're at this point in the application process, I have found that it's usually beneficial to have conditions in front of you folks to start discussing, because with waivers, sometimes you can address waivers better through conditions of approval, and that's what I have. So if you want, I think now would be a good time to maybe if I can kind of take over for a little bit to discuss some of the stuff
Great,
in this
including the
discussion,
waivers.
and including the waivers. So what I'm gonna
Thank
do is I have copies of the decision. I don't know if this also includes special. It does, all right. And I got a copy for you. I'll pull it up on the screen as well, so everybody can see.
Thank you.
I know you mentioned the widening of the dumpster area to 24 for a second. Is that actually wide enough? I live in a townhouse association. We have a dumpster, we have double wide. And to be honest, I shoveled it the other day. I don't know if it's 24 feet wide or not. Is that typical for an 8 or a 10-yard pickup dump? Is
It would be-
24 enough?
It's enough for two.
Okay, and I'm asking you, you know the specs better than
Yeah, the
I
question,
just,
the comment was, you have multiple tenant spaces, you might need more than one dumpster, so this gives us the opportunity to have two dumpsters.
it does, and I know your specs are
Yep.
X wide for an 8-yard, 10-yard, whatever, and, okay, as long as that's all covered.
Just to get on the same page before we turn it to the last set of drawings
Sorry.
that you were just showing were dated what?
February 5th.
The fifth. Okay, so what I did in my hand. Thank you.
Yeah, those are in the Dropbox and they're referenced in this decision that I'm about to share, and you guys have
Yeah,
that.
that's not the last meeting.
Not the
No.
the plans we did.
Yeah. to the fifth.
Yep.
Just update.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you meant the plans or the decision.
No, that's not.
Decision fresh off the press, though. All right, so everything is pretty standard, but when I get down to, so 17 and 18 for the document list, that's the most updated items, the February 5th plans, and then the February 9th cover letter. That's all updated. So for determinations, there are three requests for the waivers. There's the stormwater design for this reverts back to some of the subdivision regulations, which we have a requirement that you can request a waiver for it, but basins can't be constructed in fill. And what that essentially means is, your bottom of the basin needs to be subgrade. Now, it's common engineering practice, because as we all know, there's not really a whole heck of a lot of desirable land left throughout the Commonwealth, and there are ways to engineer basins, and it's very common engineering practice to build basins within fill. The key is to make sure it's designed properly. And the big item is making sure that the construction details show that it would be soil horizon A and B, so your topsoil and your, I guess, non-native soils are removed, and then you have your soils that are in kind with whatever your design is for infiltration are replaced, so you don't have like this layer of soil that's going to hinder the basin's ability to infiltrate. So Dan included in the construction detail, it's a note on, I forget what sheet it is, but where your basin is, it's
The
basically.
detailed sheet for the basin, yep.
Correct, and that's to remove any of those soil horizon A and B layers and replace it with the C layer. So that's one of the requests, the waiver requests. I mentioned, I know at the first meeting that this waiver request, which was contemplated for the previous application for this site, it was very difficult, I think, for the board, and I know myself sitting in that seat, to grant it just because it was hard to grant a waiver for stormwater basins to be constructed for a site layout that seemed to not really fit well. With this application, you know, the applicant has dialed back significantly, and this is a much more conventional and a more desirable site layout, in my opinion. And frankly, I think with this design, it shows that if you do not grant the waiver, this lot will most likely just be considered undevelopable because of the estimated seasonal high groundwater being as high as it is. That's why you have to have the basins higher up and infill. The other two waivers, there's the fence height, which we've discussed in previous applications. There's a 6-foot height requirement for our subdivision regs. There's a basin that's in the front of the site and one that's towards the back. The larger one's in the back. But it would be way more aesthetically pleasing to have a 4-foot height fence. And with this being a commercial site, you know, as long as it's there, I don't see any issues with that whatsoever, especially with it being at the front of the site. A 6-foot height fence would be pretty unsightly.
The basins are only 2 feet deep.
That's true too. So, so that's another item. But then the last one is, so this is a commercial site. It's not a subdivision. So our subdivision regs require a minimum 12-inch drainage pipes. With it being a commercial site, you know, Dan did what's called the rational pipe method, which is to size the pipes for the correct storms. And 12 inches is not desirable for a site like this. You want it smaller, and it can accommodate. So 6-inch diameter drain pipes is what's being requested. All of that's been documented in the stormwater report. So, you know, they're all sized fine. You know, 6 inches is very common for a commercial site anyway. So that's the other waiver. So I don't see any issues with any of these. What I did, if we continue through the decision.
Can we, actually, can I ask a question or two on these waivers? Because I think we probably want to get through the waivers first. and
Yeah,
see
there,
where we go.
before we do that, can I show one condition of approval related to the basin?
Yes,
Okay,
that's probably my next question.
yeah, so for the condition of approval. I can go through all of them. They're all
Yeah, please.
relatively cookie.
But this one, go back, because this is the first waiver, right?
Yeah, I'm going to the.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just go through
And I
the
did
conditions
see-
of approval really quickly.
And I did see that in the peer review that they thought it was, the word they were used was believe this is a reasonable request when they were talking about the request to construct and fill and offered some language.
Yeah, and because it is a common engineering practice to build basins in fill, it's just so important to make sure that they're designed properly and
Yeah.
constructed properly. And I have a condition of approval in here for the construction portion. We know the
Okay.
design portion is correct. It's the construction thing, obviously, that's important. So just quickly going through the conditions. One is the what I would call the cookie cutter. The condition regarding major and minor amendments, which, you know, that's very important. It needs to be in every decision. So if there's any changes, you have the right to judge if it's major or minor. Major requires a public hearing, minor, you can just vote that night. Two, I referenced the architectural plans that were submitted and just saying that essentially we want to make sure that it's in kind with what was submitted. So, because the front of the building has more of an office type aesthetic, the back is the overhead doors, which is, I think, a desirable design for the site. I think it looks good, so we wanted to incorporate that. Three, this is something that we've added for buildings that may have the multiple tenants, and that's just that the the applicant shall include in all leases. Basically these conditions of approval, so then that way, you know, if you'll see that there's a couple items in here that you're gonna want the building tenants to know. Number 4 is the big one, which is just the outdoor storage of fleet vehicles, equipment and or materials is prohibited. That's because of you know, the limited access around the building. You're not gonna want storage of equipment, especially in the front of the site, because they can get unsightly. This is a commercial site, not industrial. So that's a standard condition. And then also making sure that those doors are shut while work is being done inside, just to limit any noise. 5 is regarding the 4-foot height fence around the basins. So rather than the 6-foot, it's more of just a belt and suspenders approach, even though there are waivers being requested. Change in tenant, they'll notify the building commissioner just to make sure it falls within the allowed zoning table of uses. 7, bulk storage isn't allowed, so they would be required to go for more permitting through that. 8 is the big one. This is regarding the stormwater basin. So basically saying that it needs to be constructed in compliance with the approved plans. Topsoil and subsoil below the bottom of the basin shall be removed prior to basin construction. Fill materials under the basin bottom shall be clean gravel or septic sand meeting the design engineering's approval, which is actually the note straight from the plans. And then I just put prior to occupancy and inspection of the place, fill materials shall be conducted by a town planner or planning board's representative. So that way, we've done this with quite a few other projects, especially with underground stormwater basins where the excavation is inspected prior to backfill, just so we know it's been constructed properly. This one will make sure that we look at the fill material before they put the loam seed down. So that's 8. 9 is just, you know, prior to construction. This has an on-site septic system, so they just need to coordinate the approvals with the Board of Health. That's standard. Prior to start of construction, the planner and the conservation agents are going to want to inspect the erosion controls. Everything else is pretty much cookie cutter. Limited work line is is essentially the erosion control line. Our standard construction hours and holidays that you're not allowed to work on. Fencing needs to have that 6-inch gap. That's a standard for conservation. Conditions related to if the construction ceases. 16 is regarding the exterior lighting, which just needs to be dark sky compliant and there can't be any spillover on adjoining properties. There was a photometrics plan incorporated in this, so you know, this is more of a belt and suspenders approach once again. I don't think the fixtures were listed on there, but were they?
Yeah, they're all full cut up. Yeah, we have the
Belt and
model,
suspenders approach.
we have the model number.
Okay. Yeah, as long as they're dark sky compliant, that's the critical thing.
Yeah.
Signage needs to go to the building commissioner. If there's blasting, there needs to be a pre-blast survey.
I don't think you're blasting over there.
No, but that's a standard
Yeah,
condition.
no, I know.
25, bro.
Sorry.
Just figure it out.
Okay, 25 needs to be adjusted. Thank you, Dan. Everything else, so like stormwater management plan is incorporated in here. That's referenced snow and ice removal, phosphorus-based fertilizers. All these things are just common conditions that we put in just about all of our decisions. 25, I've got a note. Yeah, that's a different applicant. That's kind of important. Who hired this guy?
So out of everything,
Whatever.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Number 5, the 4-foot fence. I'm fine with that. We've talked about that many times, but we have talked about some low shrubbery in the 4-foot on frontage sides of roadways that we had asked other applicants to,
We have
Add some-
plantings on the plan,
okay, that,
between the front stormwater basin and the street, but they were on the plan.
okay, that incident,
Yeah, right at the entrance.
yeah, I was trying to look at the drawing real quick and not knowing, the 4 foot, I don't have a problem with, it's just trying to keep it looking neat and clean. And
Absolutely.
the other is on number 8, as it's being constructed, is there a cross section, like a core done that, okay, before the topsoil gets put on, do they do a coring? Or is that through the building department inspections of, as they add layer by layer by layer, that it's complied with meeting
We have
the engineering drawings? That's all I'm asking.
we have the contractor strip out all the unsuitable soils, and then I inspect it, and the town will inspect the bottom. And once we're in agreement at the bottom that they've excavated down far enough, then they bring in the new gravel or sand materials. And then
Okay.
then we inspect that. And once that's satisfactory to everybody, then we loam and
Okay, that's
Yeah,
all I was making sure the clarity.
and to answer your question, to make sure that, obviously it's not just a 2-inch layer of sand and gravel on top of undesirable soils. Usually the way the inspections work and how it's been done in the past is usually we get called in once like half of the material is placed. So you see the excavation, you can see the native soils, and then you can see there's, a
What
foot
they're
of.
doing, and they're gonna continue it around.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
Just
yeah.
getting clarity, that's.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a good question.
we don't mess around with stormwater basins.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no,
Patrick, you?
I have no questions right now.
Bill?
I have none.
Okay. Dave? All right,
So,
I do though,
Okay.
so just to. So peer review used the term on number 11, which I just want to clarify. And they're using it as an example, and just clarify that this is not what this is. I read it and it said, basically, page 4, this is a minor detail, but I want to clarify because we had one come back. With uses 1, 2, 3, 4th line down on my page, on page 405. It says requirements for general, basically it says, this is for the parking, the special permit allowing for similar parking requirements for general light industry, wholesale, warehouse consistent with the type of building. So we just want to clarify warehouses, sir?
yeah, so that's the use code for
Yeah.
and if you recall, with
Yeah.
I think every single warehouse has ever come in front of us, there's always the special permit flexible parking request.
Yeah,
Because,
I'm saying we should do the special,
yep,
I'm for, to be honest with you, I'm for the parking special permit. I'm just want to make crystal clear that this is not a warehouse.
No.
Okay.
It's not a warehouse.
no, there's no loading docks or anything.
It's similar in terms of.
For the
intensity.
example with that they used for the special permit,
Yeah.
they used that as, but then they threw that in there, so I want to make sure that that's not. Make it crystal clear, because that does come up on other things.
And not to get too far ahead, because I know we're going to talk about the waivers next, but there is another document in that set, and that is for the flexible parking special permit decision. So that's coming next, but we'll stick to the development plan and stormwater.
Yeah,
management.
so the other thing I had was the height of the fence in the bylaw says 6 feet, and the reason, my understanding is the reason for the 6 feet is a safety issue. I think I've heard the board, kind of weigh in on this one tonight. So, but I think we should probably vote on each one of these waivers separately, Rob.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do is, so you can see in that draft decision, I have just listed out the decision, the requests. What I'm gonna do is actually record the vote of each waiver after that, so I'll amend the decision. Obviously, you do not take a vote, so can't really just make it up right now. So I'll add that, but I would recommend a vote for each waiver, and then
Okay, are you, okay, and then we can address the special parking? permit?
Yep, I would
Or
do
would
that.
you like to do that at the same time?
If you want, I can go over this. That one's extremely straightforward because it's really just referencing the documents.
Okay, all right, then you're suggesting go through each of the three waivers right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you
so why don't
want.
we do these stuff?
Right, but for a quick clarity on the special parking, and
Yeah.
I wanna make sure I'm correct on
Well, what I'd like to do-
understanding, no,
What, I'd like to have a discussion on each one of them.
right, but you asked about it and it's like.
Yeah.
How I read that was, it's just. Industrial warehouse lighting on parking is much lower grade. Than parking of a commercial, like a Walgreens. So if anything else, and I just wanna make sure I'm understanding it correctly. They're asking for like a lower limitation of what they require for lighting as opposed to normal commercial like a Walgreens, CVS. Versus a warehouse. Warehouse is usually much lower lighting. Is that not correct?
Yeah, how about,
Parking,
Can I-
but.
Can we just do the waivers before we get to the park?
yeah,
Well, I was just trying to get some clear,
Well, the first waiver we're gonna talk about. would
Yeah,
be-
why don't we go
Well, we
through the
just go
waivers
through
in
them in
order?
order. Yep,
That's
and
fine.
each one of them will take a motion to take a vote. And then we'll have a discussion on each one.
Yep, that's fine.
separately, And then we'll take the vote.
and I'll talk about the special permit next and clarify exactly what you're looking for.
Okay, so the first waiver I would like to address would be the stormwater design. And to issue the basin not in fill waiver. Do we need a motion for that, or can we just do it as a 50-second?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just take the vote, that way I can, I'll
Okay, so-
put that, either, hopefully the board unanimously votes.
Yeah, so I would call for any discussion first, as we'll do on each one of them, and then we'll take the vote. So, Steve, is there any discussion that you like, Bill?
I feel comfortable. I think we've made a lot of improvements here.
Yeah.
You're comfortable?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll take a vote to give the waiver on the basin. Steve? Steve, aye.
Bill,
Phil, aye.
Marty, I.
Okay, so that waiver passes 4-0.
Okay,
So
perfect.
that-
So that'll be a unanimous vote, so I'll make sure that that's listed in the decision.
All right, the second one is to adjust the fence around the detention basins. There's two of them there. From the 6-foot bylaw to allow a 4-foot fence around the detention basins. So I'd open that up for discussion at this point. Does anybody have any points that they'd like to make?
My point would be commercial usage, and you brought up safety prior, and I agree with 6 foot in a residential area type, 4-foot commercial in the fact of what's coming in and out of the property. 4-foot, I'm fine with on the front side, street facing with plantings as on per the drawing. Meet what it keeps the look of the town. The back one, I would still say keep 6 because it's behind the building, and no offense, kids go roaming and safety reasons, as you brought up, keep the back basin at 6 foot because it's behind the building and you're not gonna see it from the roadway. I would keep that, the back one at 6 feet, front one at 4 with plantings. And I think we're covering ourselves and protecting the safety of the community.
Okay, so let's continue with the discussion. I heard you say something different than what we were looking for on the waiver, which let's. Steve, do you have any points you'd like to make?
I don't have an opposition to the 4-foot fence because the basin is 2 feet deep.
The basin's this deep.
Yeah.
In a 100-year storm, it has this much water in it.
What was your suggestion, Marty? Again, you want 4-foot with plantings in the front and then,
Well, the 4-foot, there's 2 basins, one in the front of the building, and one in behind.
yeah,
To keep the 6-foot fence at the backside because it's unseen from the street, and again, for safety reasons. And kids play in those, there's neighborhoods abutting it, kids play in the woods. And
yeah,
they venture out, and that's all I'm saying, it's just,
yeah.
it's a 2-foot fence.
It's a bit isolated with the wetlands, so it's kind of cut off from any neighborhood. I see your point. mean, it's up to the
I
board.
came home with mud up to here. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
Yes.
the
I get what you're saying. I'm just looking at,
the counterpoint argument to tall fences is if a kid's gonna climb a fence, he's gonna climb a fence, he or she is gonna climb a fence, whether it's 4 or 6 feet in. If they're in there and they need to try to get out quick, it's harder to get out over a 6-foot fence than it is over a 4-foot fence. So,
And we're talking 2 feet.
yeah, I'm,
You know, if it was 6 feet, I'd say, okay, but we're talking 2 feet, you know. That's just my,
nope, and then I'm,
Okay. Bill, do you have a position?
I feel comfortable with the 4 feet in front and the back.
Okay. I think I spoke that I would feel more comfortable.
and you swayed.
With the 6 and 6.
No, and I mean
So-
that honestly, that's a very good valid point. A kid gets in there and then wants to get the hell out of it. It's easier to get back out of a 4-foot than a 6-foot, and it is only a 2-foot basin
Yeah.
and it's less than 72 hours to drain, so.
Okay, so at this point, we've got a couple different views on this. Patrick, do you have a view on this? You don't get to vote, but.
I'm not opposed to a 4, but that's not this issue.
So at this point, there's some different views here. I heard 3 different things. So why don't we take a motion from,
I heard one thing.
well, I heard front 4, back 6.
He said he was swayed.
And then I was swayed,
It's to 4 and 4?
4 and 4.
Yeah,
I said I was
You're
good.
4 and 4?
Yeah, I'm fine with 4
All
and
right, so
4.
let's take a vote on the waiver for 4 and 4, if that's the case. And Steve, do you want to take the vote?
Steve, I.
Bill, I.
Okay, Phil's gonna vote no.
Matty, I.
Okay, so that passes 3 or 1. So,
Okay.
the waiver is given.
Yep. All right. And then item 3, that's just the 6-inch versus 12-inch diameter drain pipes.
Okay.
And I
We'll
list-
open up that one for discussion too. I would like to ask just Rob a question. So that you're comfortable with the engineering behind it?
Yeah, I mean, going to 12-inch pipes for a site this size, I think is a bit overkill. You know, you don't want to go anywhere below 6 inches, but 6 to 8-inch pipe is pretty common for a site like this. And obviously, when you're requesting waivers, the big thing is, setting precedent and making sure that, if another site, which all sites are different, you want to make sure that you have documentation to prove that there's reasoning behind allowing this. And in the decision, I just referenced that, Dan did do what's called a rational method pipe sizing calculation, which that's what shows if the conveyance of the pipes are adequate, and that was peer reviewed and approved. So
And you're comfortable with it?
very comfortable with it.
Okay.
So,
All right, then I would open up that one for discussion on a waiver. If anybody has any opinion, any discussion?
I have no problem.
Okay.
I go with the experts and it's.
Then what we'll do is take a vote and to approve the movement to these 6 foot versus the 12. With the
6.
diameter. 6 going to 6 from 12.
Matty,
I
I.
think it's well outlined.
Yes, I'm okay with this one. Bill, I.
Bill, I.
Steve, I.
Okay, so that one, with that waiver passes 4-0. What else do we want to take a look at in this decision?
if you want, I'll go over the special permit really quickly, because what you can do, if the conditions look okay with both of them, we can maybe just do a vote like we normally do, close the public hearing, vote to approve both decisions. So let me just pull that up if that's okay. And I'll explain a little bit, Marty, what exactly is being requested with the flexible parking special permit. As I mentioned, with the warehouse developments that we've had, this has come up with just about every application, because every use has a specific requirement for parking. Usually it's per square foot. For restaurants, it might be per seat. For dwelling units, it could be per unit. In this case, we have a pretty high calculation for warehouses, and usually you can go, up to half of that, and that's adequate. And usually what happens is the applicant just needs to document that based on either other locations or based on a calculation with proposed potential employees, that the parking as designed will work, and that's up to you guys to decide. The good thing is with this project and with a lot of the warehouses that we've seen that have that same use code, most of them are close to the public, so really it's just how many employees are you gonna have on site? This is a similar situation where it's gonna be, mostly tenants are gonna be like your commercial rental spaces, whether it be like an HVAC company, landscape company, what have you. So it's really just employee parking. So similar to that other decision, this one is way simpler. It's just outlining what was being proposed, documenting the plans that were submitted, but essentially that the required is 30, which is excessive for a site like this. They're proposing 15, which you can see the layout on the plans.
Yep.
Also, we always note that it's not located, or it is located in a water resource district. What they noted was that the option was based on existing facilities that the applicant owns and is built for similar uses. And essentially, I mean, the conditions of approval are very similar to the last one, but much smaller, minor versus major modification. 2 is that you're granted the reduction. 3 also has another issue with the applicant. We'll fix that. So, and actually, condition 5, I need to strike the scenic road permit, but everything else in there should be correct.
Okay,
This is what happens when you're
all right, why don't I?
doing too much.
No, that's good. So, of course, when the motions come, we'll do as amended. So maybe 3 and 5, and then 25 on the other one.
Yeah, so what I have for these is, out of this. So if those decisions look okay, for the development plan approval, I will be updating the waiver request to actually have to record the vote, and then I will change condition number 5 with the correct applicant. For the special permit, I will amend condition 3 with the correct applicant and condition 5 for the correct applications. And
And the dates too, one's right.
yeah, so it'll be the applications and deeds, but that's pretty much it. So if the board is okay with those, you can make a motion to approve as amended. Actually, I would close the public hearing first and then make.
Okay.
If
Motion
you're
to,
good.
No question.
is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment before I close the public hearing? And seeing none, that's okay. And, so I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Made by Bill, seconded by Steve. Okay, and the vote will start with
Marty, I.
Bill, aye.
Bill,
Steve, I.
Okay, so that passes, 4 to, 0. And, that's a special permit. Have you been, is he eligible? Have you been to all the, no, you have not been. If you had been at the sites, if you'd been to all these meetings, I probably would have had you vote, but we'll hold
Yeah.
up on that for now.
But you have a quorum, so you'll be okay to vote.
Okay, so I would take a motion to, and we'll probably do these together, to approve, and there'll be some discussion in between, but, the 455 Hartford Avenue Development Plan, approval, along with the 455 Hartford Avenue Flexible Parking Special Permit Decision. I take a motion to approve
as amended.
as amended. So are you making the motion as
I am.
amended? Okay, do we have a second? Second by Steve, motion made by Bill. All right, I will open this up for any discussion. And does any of the board members have a discussion on this?
I think this has come a long way from the original project.
Yeah, it's a lot different than what we saw before, so thank you for working through this. Any other comments?
I will say this was a very streamlined application process, which I appreciate the engineer and the applicant working through this, because this was a quick one.
Okay, good. All right, so we have a motion, it's been seconded to approve as amended both of these decisions. Steve, you want to take?
If you like.
So,
Phil, aye.
Marty, I.
Okay, so both of these decisions are approved 4-0 as amended with the adjustments that Robbie talked about, and then also the waivers would be added to the decision as well, as part of the stormwater.
Correct, yep, so we'll have that all squared
I
away.
did see you tied the stormwater to special permit in your general, so it's great.
We'll have that recorded with the town clerk tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate the working with us.
thank you. You've come a long way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And like I said last time, we're all about to please. Everybody's happy, that's all.
Thank you.
We say welcome to Bellingham, whether you're here or not.
Thank you.
We'll be doing good.
Good to see you. One project go through. All right, so back to the agenda. And get my listing up here. So I think that's the public hearing. I think we've got some general business.
Yes, so general business, we got Jeff and Liz. Come on down for Red Mill on the Charles. Yeah, Red Mill on the Charlies, according to the agenda. We were not mocking you. So,
But the name had changed.
yeah, exactly. What's going on here? So yeah, this is as I've mentioned at previous meetings, we've had quite a few modification requests come in as of lately. I don't know why, but it just kind of is happening. But any modification requests, I always put on the agenda as minor request, and then you can make the determination of minor versus major. What I would recommend, Liz and Jeff are here, the applicants. Oh, sorry, Liz, I'll
Yeah,
let you in and make you a co-host.
thank you.
No problem.
I'm hoping my audio is off.
If it isn't, we will fix it. Yeah, your audio is off according to this. So you're co-host now. So there's a few changes that are being made to this application. I'll let Liz and Jeff present those. And then if you want to turn it back over to me, I can just kind of explain to you what I would recommend for the process moving forward. The good thing is we actually had a request very similar to this, actually, it was the Harmony subdivision that it was considered a minor request at that time. But I'll go over everything once the applicant has a chance to discuss. All right.
Great, the floor is yours.
Nice.
Sorry.
Jeff Heidelberg from Toll Brothers.
And I'm Liz Clark from Ty and Bond.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time tonight.
If you can go over what you're proposing as the change.
Sure. So Liz will jump into the site plan itself. Essentially, what was previously proposed and approved, we like. It's just the lot configuration itself doesn't fit the typical homes that we construct. And so what we were looking to do is realign a couple of the roadways and realign some of the lot configurations to fit the products that we normally construct. So we're proposing 5 different home types here, each with 3 different elevations. So there's 15 different home styles that you'll see throughout the site, but that those do necessitate a little bit of a different lot layout. So Liz will go through those changes. In addition to that, there is a drainage update based upon some feedback that we received from the DPW. And then there's 2 requirements within the special permit itself that we would like to adjust or address. And we can get into those as well. So those are the 5 different things that we want to go through. I'll let Liz speak to the site plan itself.
So the plan I have up on the board shows the reconfiguration of the roadways that we're proposing. The hatched purple area is where the road was on, this is road B, road C. And below it in the white is where we're adjusting it. So pretty minor adjustment through here, and then again, instead of having it hook pretty tight, we're giving these lots a little bit more space down here to enable those homes that Jeff was just talking about. So we have those roadway realignments, which in turn changes the lots, the actual physical boundaries of the lots in the highlighted areas that are yellow.
So it was previously proposed, didn't actually have the homes on the lots. So we're not sure what dimensions were previously considered for these lots.
Yeah.
But when we started looking, we really couldn't get homes to fit on them. So it's a slight shift in the road, just swings a little bit wider to allow those lots a little bit more space to construct a home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not affecting the entrances at all. It looks like
No,
it's just
no.
the
Yep.
purple blue.
Yeah, so this is road A, which comes through, which has your main entrance down on Mechanic Street here. We didn't touch that. There were some grading modifications as well through the site with the intent of better balancing it as well. So we did shift the grading around. And we did do the drainage update that Jeff referenced. So initially, the roads B, C, and D, so these, we'll call them the neighborhood roads, really. One's here, then over here as well. They were designed with swales on either side of the road, so an open collection system. And with this development, it's done in an open space, a clustered style, so we're able to preserve about 40% of the site as open space, and that means that we have driveways every 70 feet. So you have a swale, then a culvert, a swale, then a culvert, kind of in rapid succession. It's not the easiest system to maintain, and we did talk to the DPW about this, and they were very on board with us flipping that open drainage system to a closed drainage system. So meaning we're going to a curved roadway with catch basins and drain pipes, easier to maintain, and you don't have to worry about your homeowners later filling in your swales, having to pull leaves out of them. So they were supportive of that change. Additionally, as Jeff mentioned too, the previous approval was limited to just what I'd call roadway and infrastructure. It didn't have the homes on it, and the applicant had previously committed to having infiltrators, subsurface infiltration systems on every single lot with each home, able to detain up to the 100-year storm. We reran the drainage calculations, added in the actual impervious areas of these homes we're showing, and made modifications to the basins, mostly related to the outlet control structures, making them just a bit more efficient so that they're able to mitigate the peak runoff rates when you include the homes. We had success in doing that in almost all the areas, with the exception of up in this area, where we just couldn't modify this basin any further. So these homes will have infiltrators, and that's captured on our plans.
That's the pretty much the summary of the changes, correct?
Yeah, and then to touch on, I guess we did ask for 2 conditions to be modified in the special permit. One was related to, here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit there. That's helpful. Just the phasing of the site. The initial condition had required 75% occupancy of phase 1. we are asking for relief from that condition just because there is no control over how quickly these homes are sold. And when you have crews out there and going, there is a incentive to keep them moving and not have to remobilize and stop your construction from going forward.
And generally, the way that we will construct this is we will do the roadway and infrastructure first. We'll pad all the lots. So the lots are ready to go. And then buyers come in and pick their lots. Everything will be subject to the construction general permit. We'll have to stabilize the entire site. The town's will be reviewing and overseeing everything that we're doing to make sure that we're adhering to all the stormwater controls and erosion control measures. And so generally, when we're selling, we don't want to restrict the buyers to a certain lot. This is the lot that you need to buy. We want to have the option to be able to sell homes in any area on the site. And then the final condition was the architecture itself. As I mentioned earlier, we have 5 different home types being proposed, each with 3 different elevation styles. You have that
Yeah.
mentioned? And so they vary in size, but the requirement that exists today is 50% need to have a front door that sits proud of the garage. The style of homes that we construct don't have that architecture. It's just a very inefficient internal layout. Once you push the garage back, it becomes more of a kind of unusable space behind the garage. By bringing it forward, we can actually put room back there. You can pull up one of the floor plans that can show that, which is why we put the garage forward. By having it forward, we're able to create the space in the back. That's useful. That's just the typical, you can click on any one of them and you can see those floor plans where we create the space behind the garage. So that's why we requested that relief from that condition. So that summarizes the.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it here for discussion, I guess.
Yeah, so overall, and you don't have to make the decision tonight for, regarding the major versus minor modification. What I was going to say, well, I will say it, that we had a similar request for the Harmony subdivision, if you recall, and that was they realigned the roadway a little bit because they had to do a will fit similar to what Toll Brothers did to see if the grading and housing style would fit. And there was also, I think it was an amendment to a sewage easement to go out onto Center Street, and then I think they also raised the roadway because there was some issue with the elevation with the design. And I know that one ended up becoming a minor modification just because the limits of the improvements were pretty much the same. There wasn't a request of an increase in units. It's not really going to cause any additional impacts to utilities or to traffic because everything essentially is staying the same internally. That's one benefit for this project, that you have something to kind of look at and compare to, which doesn't always happen, which makes things more complicated when you don't. So that's one thing. Just to echo what Liz mentioned with the drainage system, Toll and Ty and Bond were very gracious in having very preliminary conversations with the town before they were even contemplating I think the will fit design essentially. And one of the main things that came up was the open drainage, I think our bylaws refer to it as low impact design. You'll also hear like country drainage where it's just no curbing, it swales and it goes to a basin. with a cluster development, I know the DPW kind of cringed when they heard that this was approved as an LID cluster development because essentially you would need a DPW person to weed whack and mow all these swales and keeping these culverts open where the driveways are. And it's really, in my opinion, gonna look odd. So, a conventional system, especially with a cluster development, in my opinion, is far superior. And I can understand the DPW wanting a conventional system just for the maintenance requirements. So I applaud the applicant for doing that. The other thing to note, I guess I would probably put some thought into the phasing. That's a discussion that it might be helpful to even get the building commissioner's input on how things have worked on previous projects. We have in the conditions, because it's a definitive subdivision, that, we do require some type of surety as the road is getting complete, and the board has actually voted recently on some of those surety bonds. The bond estimates have been updated, as you know. So there is surety in place, but I would probably take a look at the previous application, because how many phases were in this altogether? Do you recall? For some reason, I'm thinking 3, because I think,
Based on the roads, counting A, B, C, D, I'm thinking 4 phasing. Because you're calling roadways out that typically it's road A, road B, road C, and you continue on in all the phasings.
well, I think,
Road A went first here.
I agree. I think the connection through the site was the first item. And then your offshoots came up next, but
B and C.
Yeah,
So the D was
so the reason we had the phasings was so that the building inspector had the ability to make sure things were happening the right way. And we had some situations where without without that phasing, this town didn't have the ability to affect the things that needed to be affected. So to me, that was a good example of something we've done in the past that has worked out well.
yeah,
So that to me, I feel that was important, putting that in there.
Yeah.
This one member.
Yep.
I'll say it that way.
So
Have you gone through have you gone through? So for example, the detention basins, if we're doing that, then are there? I mean, is there fencing around the detention basins?
I can get to the stormwater element in a moment, but
please.
just with the phasing, going back to it, so are you proposing one full phase? Is that what you're requesting relief for?
That's what we're requesting, but if, if there's can we at least review what the phasing is being proposed at? Or if there's a way to the 75% from moving from one to the next, if there's an additional bond that can be posted or something like that to move forward with another phase. It's just, we wouldn't be able to sell, the way the timing would work out. Usually what we're doing is we're selling a lot and we're building the home for that buyer. We're not coming on here and just building houses and then selling them. We're not picking out the house. We're not picking out the finishes and the fixtures and everything else. The buyer is. And so there's a long lag between the time of selling a lot. It's basically we're selling a lot and then we're building the home. If I need to wait for 75% of all those homes to be occupied and with a CO, I don't have any crews working on anything for that next phase, and it'll basically create these pauses of could be 6-9 months whereas we prefer to just, we have a framer, we want the framer to stay on site and work from one house to the next house to the next house and not have to send them off site and then hope that he'll come back in 6 to 9 months.
So and forgive me, maybe I'm missing something. These are being built as folks come in and say, I want this house, and you build it to their specifications?
just so that I'm fully clear. So there's three different homes that we'll build. One is our model home. We build that on spec, I'll call it. So we pick the finishes, we pick the home. Our team outfits it, and that's basically, it turns into a sales center. And it shows everybody what type of home they could buy in the community. That's one home, one specific home. We'll be doing one home, and these have townhouses as well. So we'll do that as one townhome and one regular home. And that's it. So that's just those two. The majority of these will be sold as you just described. So if there's buyers that will come in, they'll be interested in, they'll look at the 5 different home types, they'll pick a floor plan, they'll pick an elevation that goes along with that floor plan. It'll have to meet certain criteria that it doesn't match an elevation that's next door or 2 doors down. And then from there, they begin to pick out everything from interior fixtures, tiling, everything on the inside. And that's the home that that's the home that they'll get. We will do, if there is a bit of a, I'll call it a lull in buyers, there may be an opportunity where we say, okay, we want to keep the framer on site. We don't want to lose that framer. We'll build a home on spec. We're selling a lot of this one home type. Let's build one of those houses in hopes that a buyer does come along and wants that home.
So if you're building houses by, order, for the lack of a better word, how is the phasing a problem? If you're not building, because if you're building, per family, then I don't understand how the phasing is an issue, because you're not building, unoccupied houses.
We're, the pace that we build these is pretty fast. So it's not uncommon for us to have, I'll call it 50 homes in a year, and that we're selling. And so when we are under construction for a number of these all at the same time, and if I needed to wait for 75% of those in that one phase to be occupied before I could start the next phase, I will be sitting and waiting for this first phase to be occupied, because it'll take about 9-10 months for that home to be fully constructed.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Bill, his hand up.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see Bill.
I'd like to go back to the phasing issue. The reason it came up, and we have at least 2 board members were here when we discussed this. In the past, we've had a developer not really care about phasing and cleaning the lots. He was just building everywhere, and he was leaving equipment, material in neighborhoods that were half occupied. And we wanted to prevent that from happening. That was the intent of the phase. Okay. Not to slow it down. It was mostly purely aesthetics for those people already living there. So I didn't have a lot of clutter in cul-de-sacs or on the road with material. So we wanted the look that these were pretty close to being finished. Less material on site, less equipment, then they moved to another area. So that was the genesis of the phase.
And if I remember correctly, also, the developer that was involved had detention basins failing everywhere, all over the place, into other neighborhoods. And to get that developer to come in with his engineers and fix that was a major endeavor that was in front of the zoning board that was not, the zoning board didn't feel like they had the teeth to do it. And it wasn't in front of us because of the 40B. But if I remember correctly, that was probably part of the genesis of this phasing process that happened. I'm not sure don't remember how many phases there are. The other piece that I would comment on was that inclusionary housing, you're changing the housing lots and things like that. But if I remember correctly, afterwards, this one doesn't have inclusionary housing requirement in it.
Correct.
And there was, so that was something special with this one, because in town,
It's for the overlay.
it was an overlay district, and we have bylaws that say that 10% of the houses have to go to inclusionary housing. And because this was an overlay district, it was exempted from that, which is extremely unusual in this town. Extremely.
I,
Doesn't, I mean, this is probably one of the ones I remember that around it. The rest of them all did, put it that way, since I've been around. So there was some special considerations given to this one, as well. Sorry, Marty, I'm gonna turn over to you. 'cause
Yeah.
Unless.
So my own-
any other-
yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry. We'd like to let the applicant know, you've heard a reference to a couple of developments. The first one was a developer where we had a hard time cleaning things up. And the detention ponds, it was just very difficult. That same developer over time had looked at another development, which he later sold. But during his process application, we put in a pretty, not strict, but fair phase. And the people that took this over, it was mentioned earlier this evening, did not have a problem with the phasing. So it goes back to how one person left it here and we made corrections moving forward. So that doesn't happen again for the benefits of the residents there and the residents in town. So that's where it came from.
So just, and unfortunately, you don't have a phasing plan of how you're gonna do it. I'm just looking at, but the first road is A.
Yep.
You gotta build that.
Yep.
But this house sells. I come on site and I look at your plan and I go, I want this house. You're gonna put all roadways in 100% drivable, maintainable by you as a development. Till everything's sold out. Cause you're asking for relief from phasing, but that means every road has to meet standards and drivable, and you maintain it until the fact that it's done. That concerns me. Of then, nope, we're done building, we're out of here. Somebody else, we're gonna sell the rest of the lots to somebody else. That's a concern personally me, because I've seen it happen in other towns and I've had it put towards other complexes that things don't happen, and our surety bonds definitely are there now and in place. But you're talking about to have relief, you're gonna build all your roadways out. That's a big surety bond.
Yeah.
The amount of roadway you're about to look at,
Well, it's
that you
also
want
all the-
relief from that, that's a big number that you're about to into the town.
And we understand that, and
Okay.
so
That's
when
how I-
when we were looking at this, there's a ton of ledge out there too. And there's a lot of work that needs to get done just to get on road A. Yeah, road A in is a huge undertaking. We're gonna need to work our way towards mechanic. It's just, that's just how we operate we divide this into teams. We have our home building team, we have our roadway and infrastructure team. Our roadway and infrastructure team comes on site. We're gonna build out that roadway and infrastructure. Yes, we'll maintain it. It'll be reviewed by the town, there will be surety in place. But I didn't have the benefit of understanding the previous issues that the town has had. So, again, I don't think we're looking for this to be voted on tonight. So if I could I take understanding what the concerns are by the board, if I could take a stab at providing an alternative phasing plan than what was previously approved, for consideration, if that would be acceptable.
I think that's reasonable, just one person.
Yeah, what I was going to recommend, this is a good segue. For the phasing plan itself, I would just recommend the board, I can send you the approved phasing plan so you understand exactly what was approved. And I'm actually interested because I didn't look at the conditioning of this. I know for the Harmony subdivision, which you alluded to, Bill and Marty and Phil, that one, if I'm not mistaken, I think that the phasing was based on building permits, and we chased each phase with the surety of the roadway, which actually worked really well because it did not slow down the developer. I'm interested to see how this one was conditioned as far as the phasing works. I don't know if it's based on occupancy, building permits,
It
or what.
was occupancy, and I think that's where,
So that is,
yeah,
in my opinion, a huge handcuff for the developer, because if you, what I recommend is looking at the phasing number one to see. But there may be, I'll look at the conditions for the Harmony one, because even if there's some wiggle room with building permit versus occupancy, I think there might be a way to basically make sure that the intent of what was initially approved is met. The other thing with this site too, that's kind of different than what we've seen at other sites. Usually the phasing is the reasoning behind it is you don't really want the site completely opened up and built upon like immediately. The thing with this site, it's an existing quarry, and the only portion that hasn't been touched is in phase one, which is the portion of Road A next to Mechanic Street down the road.
yeah. And to be clear too, we're just asking for relief from the occupancy requirement. That's how it was worded. It's not necessarily from this phasing and being able to jump from phase one to phase three, as you were alluding to. It's just making sure that phase one doesn't have to be 75% occupied before we start phase two. So,
And all I was going to say was being cognizant of the fact that a majority of the site is already disturbed. What I would look at is there are areas that are near jurisdictional areas, which the Conservation Commission's involved with your modification requests already,
yes.
which is good. That's being handled outside the realm of the planning board. I would just be a little cognizant of that. But I think getting to know what was approved with the phasing plan, Jeff, if you have maybe some recommendations, and it sounds, I can agree that if it's based on occupancy, that's tough to do, especially for a site like this. And if we have surety in place, which we will, there's ways to around that. But I would probably put a little bit more thought into that for the phasing side.
Yeah, the other piece of, we can continue on the phasing side, infrastructure,
Yep.
including basins, roads, blah, 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 blah.
So
So
Sorry, I
that's
don't-
usually a phase one or.
Yeah, and that's all detailed in the plan, so we didn't change the order of how we're delivering the infrastructure or the phases. Again, it's just asking for relief from the 75% occupancy. So that we're not stopped at phase one with 50%, but wanting to move forward, with phase two, with going with the next set. So this is set up so that we are capturing the necessary basins. And also we have 2 sewage pump stations, that those are in place before we have residents and or site disturbance going on. So this plan that we're proposing for the phasing mirrors what was approved with just our modifications of the roads and lots. And it's just that wording, 75% occupancy now.
Okay, so the phasing isn't going
Exactly.
away from, and again, I know I did the dramatic, I did A and D, and I did that purposely for that reason.
No, that's not the intent.
Okay, so you're not looking for total clearance of phasing, you just want to modify the phasing in place, in which honestly, I know you two definitely, I remember this one watching from home. And I don't remember how the phasing went, but I do remember it being proposed. I'd like to revisit that to ensure, and as Harmony, you said, it strayed away from occupancy to building permits, because building permits don't get issued, and I know Toll Brothers very well, because I had a deposit on a house once. Then the building permits, as soon as you find the P and S, now they're applying for the building permit and everything goes forward, and things like that, so I can see that looking at changing how we're gonna do the phasing based upon actual building versus occupancy. And if they're not changing the phasing of A, B, C, and D, or 1, 2, and 3 phase. And with the surety bonds,
Yeah.
but I think we need to see everything in place.
Yeah, I think getting some background information would be helpful for you folks, which I can submit to, get you the approved phasing plan and any conditions. You might have some on your records, but the other item too is related to the stormwater changes, which, obviously is significant. The good thing is that, so I would recommend, number one, that it goes out to peer review. So, because, changing the stormwater system in this fashion is, definitely something that technically you're gonna want reviewed. Because it's not really affecting the disturbances and this scope is actually relatively limited. It's, making sure that the basins are sized properly, making sure that now that it's a closed system, that the conveyance system, the rational pipe method that we were talking about is reviewed. This went through a very significant peer review when it was approved back in 2021, as you guys recall. So a lot of the items like related to the O&M plan and limits of disturbance and the actual design of the infiltration rate have already been meshed out, so it's a limited scope. But what I would recommend is, get it peer reviewed. Applicant has already issued a check to the planning department to fund a peer review. We're just trying to get one locked down. I would wait until the peer review comes back. It'll make you, I feel, more comfortable or less comfortable, probably more comfortable based on the materials. And I would make a determination based on that and the phasing plan if you want this to be major or minor. We've already had a lot of discussion tonight, which is outside of a public hearing, which kind of goes against the major modification request, but that's okay. It can be revisited if you decide it is major.
Yeah, so this wasn't just the roads. If the roads detail was moving the roads like you did, to me, I felt like that was a minor. Speaking as one member, I mean, to me, I would have done that, but when you start talking peer review on stormwater, peer review, all of the phasings, the terms that are in there, then that's a different can of worms, I think.
Before I could make mention myself, as you just mentioned, major versus minor. I don't have the phasing in front of me, so. And I definitely wanted, it was already here, peer review of the basins. I'd like to see that. Because again, if a peer review turns and says, absolutely, this is great.
Yeah.
In comparison to, and and I'm recalling more and more of this of watching online, that the discussions it was very detailed on stormwater management. It was tough on how to get it through here because of all the ledge. That if this is going to improve and make the better of the site, I look one way, but if peer review comes back and says, we got issues.
Yeah,
I think we need some more data before we can say minor versus major.
that's fair. And really,
I don't mean to put you guys on the
I
spot.
remember standing there saying, overlooking from the hill up here, saying basically, yeah, it's a sand pit. This is good.
yeah,
Let's fix the thing. They're asking questions like, well, how much dirt are you putting on each lot? Because you get a sand pit here, and you don't have dirt and loam and all that other stuff. So we asked that question. I don't know if that made it into the terms, but Bill.
My last comment, hopefully, we can sort of learn from Harmony and a past experience and merge the two. But I want to stay away from, when we start talking about peer review, we're sort of straddling major, aren't we? And I'd like to stay away from that until we can make a determination. I do want the peer review,
okay.
but I'm just afraid that it could be interpreted as being a major because of that.
I see your point, and I actually agree with the point, and I think that we're talking peer reviews should be done. So I'm seeing your point.
Well,
And
no, I just,
but
Yeah.
then
we don't step over a threshold by doing that.
we,
Yeah, I mean, there is no threshold. It's at the discretion of the planning board.
Okay, good.
So,
That makes me
Yeah.
feel comfortable.
yeah,
There's-
but you said it right there, so. Steve, what's your thoughts on this?
I agree with you if it was just a small little bump in the, the road, it's a no-brainer. But between the phasing and getting a peer review, I think, we have to wait for that before we can reasonably decide whether it's minor or major. Yes, you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would actually be, I don't disagree with waiting. I would vote for a major tonight if I had this information, but I'm okay with waiting if that's the decision of the board.
My thought, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate again, just to make sure everything's out, that if the applicant is willing to pay for a peer review. And normally a peer review, and I'm going on all the projects I've been here on. That if there's controversy, then it turns into major. If the peer review came back with the design as submitted based upon the previous and said, no, this is actually a better plan and not with a lot of controversy. I'd be looking at, no, it's minor modification because the roadway then fits. And then we look at, again, the phasing of not occupancy, building permits and things. That again is a minor adjustment too, and we're trying to assimilate the past bad experiences of the town and how do we make sure it fits? And we come up, it's still minor, it's modification and conditions that we can abide by, and it would become then minor. But again, anything that comes back faulty of that, now we're starting to look at a major. If things are lining in conjunction with the original plans, it's minor, in my opinion.
if, I assume that the concern with the peer review is if findings are discussed, it would make sense to have it as a major for the public hearing process. Is that kind of where you're getting at?
Yeah,
Bill,
the
Bill and
phasings
Steve?
is a change. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if
There's
that's.
a lot of
if that
changes
makes
here.
sense, if
Which
that-
is fair.
Yeah. There's a lot of change in
Yeah.
the way it's being proposed.
If I could entertain, just timing wise, just thinking out loud here. If we knew tonight that it's a major modification, when we submit the additional materials, when we have additional conversations, we wouldn't have to rehash all of this at the next hearing, at that following hearing, if it ends up being major. So if you wanted to make the decision tonight that it's a major modification, that's what it is, we're fine with that. Then we can,
That's what I would
Yeah,
recommend, because for the timing perspective, you're just gonna delay it for the inevitable major decision. So all it means is
Okay.
just make you
That
can
it's a
make the
major.
determination tonight that it's a major modification, and then we'll work with the applicant. It's just a public hearing. That's all it is, instead of it being general business like we're discussing tonight. And there is some
Major
items.
public, it's a change on a major, it's a major change, but it's still a public hearing on the approved project. Correct.
They just
Yeah.
made it easy for us.
Yeah,
So there you
yeah,
go.
it looked like it, I prefer it.
No.
They just made it easy.
Yeah.
So just I would just,
So can I have a motion to make this a determination if this is a major change? Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Marty?
Marty, I,
Bill, I.
Go on.
Okay, so that passes 4-0 in the major. From this point, then, Rob, where do we go from here?
so I'll work with the applicant to get the public hearing scheduled. Whatever works best with your schedule, we'll figure that out. And yeah, we'll go from there. So it'll just be a public hearing,
Have you guys done a scope on
the peer
the peer
review.
review
Yes.
already?
Yep.
Is there any reason to hold up a peer, the scope?
No, whenever I would love to have the peer review come back when the public hearing is scheduled.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but then that way.
I guess that's what I'm thinking. If the applicant's not opposed to it,
Yeah.
and you've already done the scope, I'd say run with it.
Yeah, they've already got the funds in
Okay.
place, so.
If you're okay with
That's
that.
okay.
Is there any change, the scope would change dramatically?
No. No, it's the
Okay.
peer
That's-
review.
Just want to
scope.
be fair to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
applicants.
I was planning on moving forward with it, major or minor, regardless of what you guys
Okay.
say.
I think that will streamline.
I think we should.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
All right.
get out of my way.
And then maybe when we get back together again, we can put some detail as far as some of these others, you know, what the phasing you're proposing and, you know, all the detention, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
That worked.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Thank
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So.
Appreciate you helping us.
Yeah. All right, other business, I did see there was meeting minutes. I don't see
They in the
Yeah,
pack.
we still have another general,
the other general business one.
it's not on there. You
Oh.
Bring it up.
Yeah, Marty was asking, which we can talk about it, cause it's
Okay.
not, you're not voting on anything, but. Marty was asking an update on our general business Walmart, sign discussion, so there was.
Half a dealing.
Yeah, there was a flag test done. I know Bill attended with me. Is that 2
Thank you,
weeks
Bill.
ago?
How's that?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So they did do the flag test. It significantly high. What I'm waiting for, the sign company and the architects are just putting together a figure to show us. So I have pictures, but I want them to actually present a more formal submission since they're the ones asking for the relief.
Are they doing a sight line in terms of the elevation of 495, Hartford Ave,
So,
and with 100 foot and how far back to Franklin you're gonna see this? Or Rentham?
well, you wouldn't, typically, if they want to do like a rendering, they'll take the photos from 495 and they'll show that, which the
Did
whole.
anyone take pictures that day of where the flag was?
Yeah, they were taking
Yeah.
pictures on the 495 right away.
And
Okay.
we discussed the points you raised.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's-
so, yeah,
Those are the
so
only,
there's information forthcoming. And like I said, I think the flag test will be a good indication of major versus minor. And I'll leave it at that.
I
So,
don't disagree.
yeah, so you will, that's forthcoming. I'll leave it at that.
any idea when they're submitting anything?
I talked to them the week after, so I think that was a week ago. After the flag test, and they were just confirming, these items that were, so I didn't have any time frame necessarily.
Okay.
We have a lot in front of us, and actually, like, tonight, this was a good meeting, getting one thing off the agenda was excellent.
Yeah, thank you on that one, Rob.
Oh, no problem. So, I think, I will be honest, I haven't exactly been pushing to get that moving just because I knew, this Red Mill and the Charles modification request was coming in, which I know was gonna be that's a hefty request and it's a tough one to determine minor versus major. So Walmart will be coming back, I would say, within the month of March would be
Okay.
my guess. It would probably be the second meeting in March. And we'll discuss then.
Maybe a staff memo on the topic might be called for. Can we request you to do that, sir?
Yeah, what I would prefer to do is get their submission and then kind of do my response to said submission, which will help with your request,
Within
or
the next
decision
two-
on the request.
Within the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, you don't, I know where you're getting at, you don't have to worry.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That, so.
All right,
Do you not see this invisible ball and chain attached to my ankle?
I don't have a
You'll
key.
see it on your car when you go out.
Ah,
What did I say that out loud?
darn it.
Yeah.
Alright.
Was there meeting?
I didn't see the meeting
I
minutes.
don't
I
see
didn't,
any
it's not in the
So we'll
packet.
hold up on that then.
Yeah, we can,
But I didn't see it in the,
No.
I looked for it in the, I didn't see it in the.
we've discussed enough, so.
All right. So no other, is there any other topics other than thanking Rob for everything he's done for us, seeing how,
This is probably his last meeting with us.
Potentially.
Okay, potentially. Okay, then we'll just leave it and say thank you, Rob.
No, I wanna,
Bill, go ahead.
I hate this.
I'm sorry to embarrass you. He started out on that side of the table.
With your position.
I apologize.
He was a great alternate, a great member. He's been a huge asset to the town. He's become a friend. He's become a friend of Bellingham, and you're gonna be sorely missed.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
gonna miss you a lot. You've been great to work with.
Thank you.
And your education of the board has been outstanding through the years. Things like the Rawls where I said, I was kidding around about that. That was actually in the peer review and I knew what it was. And he called out the fact that it wasn't matching up.
Yeah,
And I understood it because you trained us on certain things through the years. You've always educated us. So thank you.
Didn't we use the word geeky or something one night?
I
nerdy.
don't remember, but it was things like that. Things like that. You've educated us
Rob
from
showing
your
up to the
engineering
meeting with his
background and.
Pocket
appreciate you.
protector. Yeah.
Yeah.
You made us laugh at meetings.
Thank you.
You know, I'm very good at doing that, I'll tell you that much. I'm better at humor than planning.
No, I'll disagree with that.
Well, listen, and I'll
You're
do this,
outstanding at Brian.
Rob, I mean, for me, you know, you bridge the gap between, at the end of a process, hearing everything versus understanding it. And, you know, that you're gonna be hard to replace. I mean, all of us, that old saying, we're all replaceable. But the combination of your knowledge and people skills, and your people skills are God-given, not learned. It's gonna be a hard position to replace. So.
I,
And I know the residents of Bellingham call you. And you give out your card all the time and you really do care.
no,
And so
absolutely.
I appreciate that from you because you'll have somebody walking around not sure what's going on. You know, and you'll educate them on the side. So thank you. I mean, to me, that's outstanding.
It's a loss for the town.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
the
doing
kind
good.
words, and it really has been a pleasure. This has been definitely an eye-opening experience, you know, I will say that on the municipal side, you know, I don't envy planners because really the planner position it kind of becomes a catch-all for town, business. And you know, you can thrive on it. Like, I know I really enjoyed my time working here for the town that I currently live in and was born and raised in. I feel like I've left an impression, and, you know, mostly positive. Some people may disagree, but, it's been an honor and privilege to work with all of you. And not just this board, you know, zoning board of appeals, conservation commission, select board as well has been nothing but gracious. And, you know, I look back at my time here and it has been a difficult 2 years just because of the quantity of work that has come through the planning department. But I will say that I look back and have absolutely zero regrets. And a lot of that comes down to the people that reside here, the people that get involved with these boards, commissions, the meetings, the zoning bylaw review meetings, the Hartford Ave overlay meetings. You know, this is a good community, and, you know, I think that, you know, we will find the right person to replace me. I think it's gonna be good. I appreciate the kind words saying that, you know, it's gonna be hard to replace me, which I don't know about that, but we'll figure it out. But I really do appreciate the kind words, and it has been an honor and a privilege. So thank you all.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
All right.
probably.
And on that note, I will take a motion to end the meeting. Unless you-
Can I just,
Do you have another note to make?
yeah, make sure that, you know, embarrass him again. That, in the minutes, it's reflected about our thoughts on Rob.
Absolutely.
To be documented.
For the meeting note taker, please note, this board appreciates Rob and the comments that we made.
And
we'll
no,
miss-
it
this
did
board will
not
miss
pay
him.
them.
Officially miss him. Yeah.
And we still all have his cell phone number, do you remember that?
We actually know.
It's residents.
Oh, I wasn't going down that road, I was just gonna go.
Anyway, thank you. And, at this point, I'll take that motion to end the meeting. Steve? Second,
Second,
okay, made by Steve, second by Marty. Marty,
Marty, I.
Bill,
Bill,
Steve, I.
and that passes 4-0, and thank you.
All right.
Good night, Bellingham.